now available in paperback. From the author of the critically acclaimed book, The Man Crisis, comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women have become lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Get your copy of The Woman Crisis in paperback at Amazon.com and online booksellers today.
Hello, good afternoon.
Now say good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, can you please give us your name and prison number for the record?
Yes, my name is Kelly Ryan, 1024476.
Thank you. I'm Commissioner Corda alongside me is hearing representative Garrison.
Good afternoon.
And
Good
today
afternoon.
is your mandatory parole hearing on your arson first degree offense, case number 220719. Count number 2, and we are showing a parole eligibility date of September 5th this year, and if you're not granted a parole, you would expire this term on March 8th of next year. Does that sound about right to you?
Yes, sir.
I just want to verify that information with caseworker Rupert and make sure that you don't have any holds or detainers that we need to worry about.
No, sir, everything you said is accurate.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ryan, we are going to go ahead and show you your notice of hearing and advisement of rights form and ask if that's your signature.
Yes, sir.
Great, we will move forward with this hearing as you have been properly notified. Just to let you know that because this is your mandatory hearing, you need to know that should we grant you a parole and you go out and re-offend with a new felony conviction of any kind, by Nevada law, you come back to prison, you serve out the rest of the term, you wouldn't get parole again on it, and you would lose all of your stat time that you've accumulated, which is pretty considerable in your case. You understand that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Clearly.
And our only consideration is whether or not you would be a danger to the community. So if we had evidence to show that, we would not parole you. But if we did not have any evidence to show that, then we must. So we want to hear from you as to why we should not believe that you are a threat to the community any longer.
Okay. I have an opening statement. Would you like me to say it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. I will begin. Members of the Parole Board, thank you for giving me this opportunity to come before you, speak on my behalf, and petition for a second chance of freedom. During my time of incarceration, I have learned many life lessons, repented for my actions and criminal behavior, as well as chosen a different way to live based on the information I have received through mental health programming, as well as biblical wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. I first want to ask for forgiveness from this panel, the James family, my own family, as well as the communities of neighbors, friends, and loved ones that were also deeply impacted. I am remorseful for the pain, the grief, and the serious loss that I have caused by committing this crime against Melissa James. And if I had the choice today, I would choose for Melissa to still be alive. The fact that my very own actions led up to the death of another human being and a person I considered to be a friend was shocking to me. I was not raised with the belief that violence is okay or a way to resolve conflict. I believe that I let my anger from unresolved past issues and from what was going on in my marriage at that time get the best of me. I let my negative thoughts and emotions, as well as my experiences with the behavior of my now ex-husband, dictate to me how to respond in the moment of pressure. I'm here to take responsibility for what I did and not justify, minimize, or excuse it in any way, because there is no excuse, period. I believe if I were the woman I am today, this crime, as far as I am concerned, would not ever have happened, and Melissa would still be alive, and her family would not have had to suffer the way that they've had to. I regret making these choices, and so today my choices are different based on the truth that I have learned through this time. My journey of change and transformation began with surrendering my life to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Through His power and love, I was placed in the exact programs, Bible studies, and recovery programs that I needed in order to address the issues that brought me to prison. ARCH, which is now called STARS, Relapse Prevention, Stress Management, SOS for Emotions, Healthy Steps to Freedom, and 9 rounds of Celebrate Recovery, in which I'm in the 9th round now, laid a firm foundation addressing the issue of addiction in my life. Cage Your Rage, anger management, victim awareness, communication skills have helped me tremendously with the anger problem I had from childhood. I had always used that negative emotion to fuel my athletic performance, but it became destructive in my relationships, and I take responsibility for that today. Seeking Safety 1 and 2, as well as the Survivors of Rape and Abuse class, the SOAR class, helped me to identify the root causes of my anxiety and desire to use drugs, sex, men, or food to cope with life's pressures. Today, I thankfully do not struggle with PTSD like I did, and I no longer need or desire to use drugs or rely on anything other than my faith in Christ to cope in life ever again. God has healed me tremendously in this area. Lastly, Commitment to Change 1, 2, and 3, conflict resolution and relationship skills addressed my thinking errors and thought patterns I had picked up by being raised by a mother, this is my stepmom here today, my birth mom, that was extremely insecure. I've had to unlearn and put into practice a new way of thinking that caused very positive results for me that kept me out of all physical altercations, write-ups, and all trouble during this time of incarceration. I had a lot to overcome, a lot. But through it all, God has been merciful and faithful. His love showed me that I could let go of the pain from my past, receive the healing that I needed, and share these experiences with others still locked in the bondages I was in when I got arrested almost 12 years ago. I am a new person, and not who I was when I walked through these gates. It is my hope and prayer that this panel sees this change and will grant me my parole. It affects me greatly to think of the sacrifices my parents, who are also here today, to show their committed and loving support, the sacrifices that they were willing to make on my behalf, from my attorney's fees, to putting money on my books every month without fail, to their visits from out of state, to packages, books, phone calls, handwritten letters every few weeks. My other family members and friends have also shown their support and commitment to my new life during this entire time of incarceration. All of my support is outside of the state of Nevada. My parole plan, if granted parole today, is to interstate compact to my parents' home in Southern California. I will be attending their home church as well as the Celebrate Recovery program that it hosts. I plan on obtaining and maintaining employment and will have transportation provided through the financial support of my family. I believe I will be a success on parole because I am trustworthy, responsible, and most of all, I'm sober today and in my right mind. Myself as well as my parents are committed to the successful completion of all requirements the California Parole and Probation Department directs me. I am college educated in regards to employment. I have the financial means to support myself. I have the spiritual, emotional, and social support of my community that awaits my release. And lastly, I believe in myself again. I had lost all confidence and self-esteem. But now, I see myself whole again to face whatever future challenges and whatever my future holds. I believe that I'm ready to be the productive member of society this panel and all who have invested in the changes made in my life during this time desire me to be. Again, I repent for what I did, and I assure you that something like this crime or any criminal type of behavior will not be a part of my life again. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share and allowing me time to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan, for that.
Thank
Would you say that you were honest in that statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, you have children?
No, sir.
No children? You have family members, brothers, sisters, parents?
Yes, sir.
So, let me ask you something. You know, although senseless and needless this murder occurred, what was the reason that the victim needed to die here?
What was the reason the victim needed to die? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. She didn't. She did not. And today I see that clearly. There's no excuse for that.
Well, I think we all know that, but she ultimately died at you and your co-defendant's hands. There had to have been a reason for that at that time. I'd like to know what that was.
At the time, there had been a lot of things that were causing friction within mine and my husband's marriage. And I found out later that he was having an extramarital affair with Melissa outside of my knowledge. I had suspicions, but it came to be. I found out through a news report when I was at CCDC that their relationship outside of our marriage started before he and I were even engaged. At that time, we were trying to change our career from fitness industry into more of the business side of the sport, and we were very pressured. We completely overcommitted ourselves. We were overworked. We were doing recreational drugs at the time, and I retired from the sport in October of 2005, and by December of 2005, I was addicted to cocaine, shooting it every day. And I believe that the way that we were living was completely out of control. We were trying to do too many things at once, and I believe that Craig was trying to cover up different things because money was missing. Our credit cards were showing up maxed out, and on the night before this happened, I confronted both Craig and Melissa that our credit cards were maxed out. They didn't have anything to say. She ended up leaving, he left, and I found out they were at a hotel that night. The next morning, I had been up for 2 days shooting cocaine. My marriage had been extremely abusive up to that point. Craig, probably within the last year, had started putting his hands on me, becoming very, very abusive. At the time Melissa came to live with us, she was addicted to crystal meth, and Craig began to use it as well. Crystal meth and cocaine have very different effects on the brain. Though it's a speed and a stimulant, it's very, very different. And they were always gone from the house, and I was always there. And I knew that my marriage was over. My heart was broken from my career in fitness being over. I was having my husband put hands on me. Money was now missing. We were overcommitted in all of our transactions, trying to go from our contracts in the fitness and bodybuilding industry into something like a store. We were building a store, and there was just too much going on. That morning, Craig and Melissa show back up at the house. They had had an altercation of some sort at the hotel. She walks in. He walks in. I had found a safe. I was cleaning the house. I found a safe in her room, which was my guest bedroom, and I opened it in front of her, and inside were all of my documents that I had seen missing from my office that kept showing up missing. It showed different transactions of my home equity line of credit, my mother's maiden name, all of the documents that someone would need to do an identity theft. I showed Melissa. She said that she wasn't trying to do that. I said, fine, you need to move out. Craig went upstairs. He was highly agitated. He had already put hands on Melissa. And I was in the room with Melissa, and I started taking all the clothes that I had purchased for her. I had a place for her in my heart. She was a friend of mine. But I can tell you at that point, coming to understand that I had been betrayed, I became highly emotional, I would say. And I knew that at the tension place of where they were high, I was high. I'd been up for 2 days. I was not thinking clearly. and in a highly agitated state, I go upstairs and Craig is pacing the floor, and I could see that something was about to really turn south. And I did not call the police. I did not think in my mind about leaving the house. Up to that point, my whole marriage with Craig, knowing that he was an ex-felon, it had been put in my mind that police were bad. And though that I know that in my right mind today that the police are here to serve and protect, in the state of mind that I was in, being completely codependent, being an abused wife, but yet scared of him and scared to be away from him, he was my source to everything. He had put in my head that I would never make it without him, that I would never be anything without him, that no man would ever want me, and I was strung out on drugs. I was broken, emotionally dependent upon him. The thought in my mind of him being away from me was just as bad as the thought of me being there. He was extremely violent and abusive, and I was afraid of not doing what he said. At that point in my life, I was at the point where I wasn't making any decisions on my own. Today, who I am today, I can see that that is ridiculous. That no person should ever allow themselves to get into that state of mind. But sir, I have to tell you, that's where I was. So in that moment when I went upstairs, she wanted to check on some kind of a ticket. Craig had not been paying the bills. He was completely in charge of the finances. He wanted to be in complete control of everything in our marriage. I gave it to him. I won't ever do that again. But where I was then, I trusted him. I believed that what he was telling me was true. What he was saying was he was paying taxes, he was doing everything, and he didn't want me to have any control of the credit cards. What I found out is he was giving the credit cards to Melissa behind my back. A lot of conflict came to a head right at that moment. She was downstairs, and he puts a stun gun in my hand and says, I want you to go up behind her and I want you to touch her with it. And I told him no. He said, I don't care, I want you to go up and touch her with it. I said, no. He said, he made a threat. I don't remember the exact threat that he made, but I took it, and she ended up being on the stairs, and I clicked it so she would hear that I was behind her so she would take off. She took off into the living room, and Craig proceeded to go down, meet her in the living room. He body slammed her on the floor, and they were wrestling on the floor. I'm upstairs by myself. I don't want to have anything to do with this. He is yelling at me for help, and I'm pacing the floor knowing that I have to do what he's going to say, because my past experience with him has been when I didn't do what he said, I was abused. I told him one simple experience, that he had left a pin, a needle, from his drug use that fell out of his truck on the driveway, and we lived 2 doors down from an undercover cop. All I did was tell him the simple term, you left this on the driveway. He took off into the house. He proceeded to get a baseball bat, came flying back through the garage, and came at me, and at the last moment turned, and to my Jaguar, the Jaguar that this case involves, he did $4,000 of damage to it. Another time, when I tried to tell him that we were on the wrong place, he picked me up by my throat, he body slammed me to the ground, he put a stun gun almost millimeters from my eyes. I had learned that if I tell him things, there's a repercussion, and I'm going to face some kind of abuse in some sort. So I knew if he's downstairs and I'm upstairs and I don't do what he says and he gets away from Melissa and gets his hands on me, I knew that my life was also threatened. I knew at the time that a taser is only supposed to stop the person and allow a person to move away from safety. It does not produce death. I grabbed the taser, I ran downstairs, I shot it at both of them. I heard only him yelling. I shot it 2 times. I heard him yelling only. I put it down. You know, it just was going on. And when I realized that nothing I did could stop this from going forward, nothing I did was was successful in changing whatever was going on between them, I had feelings of ill will towards her and towards him. I moved over towards the couch feeling like I can't do anything about this, and by the time I sat down on the couch and turned my back, I heard him scream. I looked and I saw him flip on top of her, and he was choking her out, and it was over in just moments. And I knew right there in that moment that my whole life had changed. And I knew that if I didn't do what he was telling me to do, that just as he did to her, he could possibly do to me. That's exactly what I was thinking in that moment. Did she have to die? No, absolutely not. And today, being a strong person that I am today and that I've healed, I wouldn't have even, number one, I wouldn't have even been attracted to someone like Craig. Number two, another woman coming to my house in a marriage, I wouldn't have allowed it. Number three, I'm sober today. I have no desire to use drugs. Everything about this crime is wrong. Everything. And today, I want to take accountability for my part, sir, so I apologize for that.
Well, thank you, Ms. Ryan, and it sounds to me like you have a pretty good plan for your future.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to go over your parole risk assessment now and see statistically what kind of a risk you'd be to reoffend. Listen in as I go through this and tell me if I need to make any corrections, okay?
Yes, sir.
You were 33 years old when you were first arrested for anything in your life.
Yes, sir.
You have no revocations of parole or probation in your past. You were employed full-time for the year prior to committing this crime. You are not a property offender. Drugs or alcohol have been problematic for you at some point in your life. You mentioned that earlier. You are 44 years of age. You are not a gang member. You did complete commitment to change among your programs that you did finish up. That in particular earns you a deduction of a point on the assessment. You had a disciplinary that was pending. Has that been resolved?
Yeah, Commissioner Court, that disciplinary was dismissed. It was overturned.
Okie dokie. I know.
Yeah, I was personally involved in it, so it was dismissed.
Okay, great. So we note then that you have no disciplinary history and you are currently in medium custody. So does all that information
Yes, sir.
sound accurate to you?
Yes, sir.
All right, you come out with the low risk guideline. So statistically, this is telling us that you're a pretty good candidate for parole. You don't have any criminal history before this. So that's another positive for you. This was a horrific crime.
Yes.
And so now your plan I saw on your report was you're going to live with your parents in California?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you have any employment lined up yet?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you have any questions? We don't have anything else for you, Ms. Ryan. Is there anything that you have not covered today that we need to know?
No, my father was prepared to speak if you needed to hear from him, if that would be possible.
Yeah, we will allow one person for the group to make a brief statement on your behalf if they'd like to do that.
Okay.
So would that come up? Okay, you go back on that.
Right, okay.
Good afternoon.
Why don't you go ahead and start off by telling us your name, sir?
My name is Tom Ryan. I'm Kelly Ryan's father, and my wife Sharon is with me today as well.
Okay, good.
That was pretty emotional, hearing what Kelly just had to say. From sitting back here and listening to your child, that's pretty difficult to digest, but The purpose for us being here today is share an honest assessment where Kelly is today and the support that we're prepared to provide her. One of the comments I'd like to make is I have a deep respect for the responsibility of the board to make the best choice possible for an inmate when they get out into assimilation into civilian life again. That's a heady decision to make regarding each particular inmate. This crime occurred in December of '04. During the last 13 years, both Kelly as well as our family have had a deep remorse for the pain inflicted on the James family and the loss of Melissa. We'll never escape that. If we could do it over again, obviously, it wouldn't happen. As Kelly has said, this was the first offense. She has never, ever had any legal complications whatsoever. Never an arrest or anything like that. As a matter of fact, there isn't a single member of our family that has ever been arrested for any infraction of the law. We are law-abiding citizens. Kelly talked about her education. She is a college graduate. She has had a successful career, and we know the challenges that lie ahead of us. We know the obstacles that lie ahead of us with a felony record. But with determination, dedication, and the support of our friends in our church, we're confident that we're going to find a resolution to the employment issue. Despite the interim period that may occur, we have the financial resources to support Kelly, and we're prepared to do that for however long it takes. We come from a home that is a safe community. It's a gate-guarded community. We have a network of friends, neighbors, and relatives that are strong supporters of us, and we know will be supporters of Kelly as well. I think it's important to recognize during 13 years of incarceration, Kelly does not have one disciplinary write-up. I think that's an indication that she was here to accept her responsibility, serve her sentence, rehabilitate, take advantage of the programs that were available, and do the best she could to make her life a responsible life. We are anxious for Kelly to come and live with us. We're going to provide her the support she needs to become a successful person back in society. Not just successful, I think she's going to do some special things. I don't know, missionary work or whatever. It's going to be more than what any of us are expecting at this time.
Thank you very much.
I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Sit back there. Yeah. Okay.
All right, Ms. Ryan, that concludes this hearing today. We will excuse you now. We are going to deliberate on your case in private and make a recommendation to the full board. You'll receive the result in writing in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Good
Yes,
luck.
thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.